Of course. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I decided I was just gonna do a little bit of experimentation with live streaming, and I thought I would take questions after I posted the video on the TX16s versus the Jumper T18. Did I just say Jumper TX16s? I thought I'd take questions on the Radiomaster TX16s versus the Jumper T18. After I posted that video, there were a lot of comments in that thread. So I thought I would just get online and take questions. I've got the radios sitting here available for questions and comments, and then I've also got a couple of other things on the web that we can go through, including spare parts. We can talk a little bit about the speakers and the stick ends. And of course, the second I started the live stream, my mouse battery complained that it was running out of juice. So I've got to get that plugged in. Anyway, feel free to pop in and ask questions in the comments over on the side. And while we wait for questions, I'll do a little bit of looking around to show you some of the gadgets and gimmicks that you can use on both of these radios. Hey, Robert. One of the things that I ended up cutting out of the final video was the difference between the stick ends, and the two radios do use different stick ends. On the Radiomaster, it uses an M4 stick, and in my case, it came with a set screw that went in the top there. The Jumper does not have a set screw, and it uses an M3 stick end. So one place you can get things like this are from Aloft. Aloft Hobbies carries stick ends, and I like Aloft. I've used them quite a bit. I buy receivers from Aloft. I used to buy pretty much all my FR Sky receivers and some of my Tyrannus accessories when I needed things like batteries and replacement parts, you know, the switches that I ended up replacing over time when I replaced my screen cover. I got all that from Aloft. So Aloft is a very good vendor, and they carry a lot of Firstkey product. But anyway, they carry the M4 and M3 stick ends. So if you want replacement stick ends, I like these red. These are called Grand Lotus stick ends. I like these. If you're a thumber, they work really nice on the radio. So Aloft carries those, and they've got a couple of different options in terms of colors. They've got the bronze, they've got red, they've got blue. Yeah, hey, FL Engineer, how you doing, man? Me either. But anyway, for thumbers, it's a nice upgrade over these little tips right here. Definitely a nice upgrade. And then if you want new stick ends, you know, for the Jumper T18, those are available on Aloft as well. You just want the M3 stick ends for those. Yeah, Robert, I do too. I like these. For flying, they're really nice because if you're a thumber and your thumb moves around, there's a lot more surface area to get a grip on, and it doesn't feel like, you know, when I was in the Navy, we had helicopters, rules on our helicopters that said you couldn't allow more than a certain amount of pressure per square inch on the deck plating. And the main reason they told us that wasn't because of us. We wore combat boots, flight boots. But every now and then we would do shows for civilians, and we had cases where women would get on with stilettos and they'd poke a hole right through the deck plating. So that's what these sticks remind me of. If you're on the thumbs for a long time, you got a very small space for pressure per square inch. And the Grand Lotus sticks, they kind of spread it out a little bit and make it a little easier. So anyway, yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and get them for the Jumper and try it on this one as well, because I do like the Grand Lotus stick ends on that TX16s. But anyway, here are a couple links on Aloft if you're interested in those. And then one other little tip, don't you love the internet these days? Everything is a pop-up. Everywhere you go, they stick something in your face. Anyway, here's a link on Main Hobbies where I got the heavy-duty gimbal springs for the TX16s, and I said in one of the early videos on that one that it definitely made a difference. It took the feel of this radio to a whole new level. So the gimbal itself is fine. The bearings are fine. I stand by that. If you got bearings on all four corners, they're fine. The only real difference you can make in the way a gimbal feels is by adding different springs or adjusting the spring tension. So, hello Drone Days, how you doing? And Freddie, how you doing, man? Good to see you. So anyway, these heavy duty springs from Futaba, they fit on the TX16s no problem, and they really did make a change in the way the sticks felt. They didn't necessarily center any better, but they do feel very good. It's just very solid. I don't know, hard to explain, but look, for a few dollars, try it out. You know, if you want to get a feel for how different you can make the sticks feel, they're only a couple bucks. And A Main has some good flat rate shipping prices, so $2, and you can get them shipped to your house for what, $8? So that's pretty cheap. All right, the speaker, Freddie. Hey, Freddie, man, Freddie's in here, and he's gonna go up and down. He's gonna read me a new chapter about this speaker. But I'll have to admit, I did a post on a 40mm speaker that I added to the back. I realized that in recent revisions of the TX16s that they're supposedly including the back speaker now, which is great. I can say in mine, obviously, it doesn't have it, so I was hunting for speakers. And I went and found one set on Amazon. I tried them, and they're way too bassy. Freddie came in and goes, man, stop screwing around, get the AliExpress speakers. You won't regret it. And I said, yeah, but it takes a month. I'm not that patient. I'm just not that patient. So I did some more searching, and check this out. I found, first I'll show you the, pay attention to the specs here. So this is a 2-watt, 40mm, 8-ohm. And if you can, it's a really bad picture, but if you can see this, you can see this marking WSC 8-ohm 2-watt. And look at this little blue tab right here. Now watch this. If you look at this speaker they're selling on AliExpress, 8-ohm 2 watts, a little blue tab right there, and they call it an XHX, and mine is a WSC. So yeah, Freddie, I went ahead and ordered these, and I know you're probably going to read me a new chapter about it, but that's okay. And I'll tell you what, for those of you who are on the live stream, I'll tell you what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to test the speaker on my TX16s first. Yeah, they do, Freddie. They do look at, yes, they do. I'm going to go ahead and test them, and if I'm happy with the outcome, I'm getting a 6-pack of them. I only need 5. So here's what we'll do. If you need one of these speakers for your radio, get on Twitter, say hello to me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and then email me your address, and I'll mail you one for nothing. That way I can give away some of these speakers rather than having sit in a drawer and get worn out over time, and you guys can get some free speakers. All right. One other thing I want to cover real quick is this. I sent a request to Radiomaster asking for some information about the pads, and here's what they sent me back. So if you remember from the Radiomaster video, or the shootout video, I pointed out that there were some open bays up here on the top of the motherboard right next to the display ribbon. Radiomaster sent me this link back. So he gave me the pinouts. If you want to add an extra pot and an extra momentary switch or 2-position switch, you can do it with these pinouts on the motherboard. Dragon Hank, welcome to the video. Thanks for popping in. Mac, thanks for popping in. Who did I miss? Robert, I got you. FL Engineer, I said hello. So 19 viewers. I don't see everyone saying hello in here. Don't be shy. And anyway, yeah, so if you're interested in what those extra pads do on the Radiomaster, here you go. And I'll go ahead and post this in the community tab on the channel so you can get a look at it and see if you're interested in making any mods yourself, you can. But keep in mind, don't forget, we did that video where we found out and discussed how to go in and set the configuration on the Radiomaster TX16s to utilize these T5 and T6 trim switches. So if you're not using them for something else flight related, you do have the opportunity to use them in the configuration for a momentary switch. And it's really a 3-way momentary switch. So, hey, Dragon Hank, what kind of issues are you having? curious about that. I've had pretty good luck with my Radiomaster. I haven't had any problems, so I'm curious, what kind of issues have you had? And it looks like I'm having, while we wait for that answer, I'm gonna go ahead and reset this camera because it looks like it's not working correctly. What are the 6 things that are in line on the top of the Radiomaster TX16 from Dante? Hey, good question, Dante. Those are flight mode switches. So really what it is, it's a 6-position switch. It's really nothing more than that. If you think about a switch, this is a 3-position switch. This is a 6-position. Yeah, she's talking too much. This one's just a 6-position switch. So they really intended that to be used on things like flight computers, like an APM, where you have hover, come home mode, waypoint mode, and so on. And that's what they're really intended to do, is set those different modes on flight controllers. But they can also be used in OpenTx flight modes. So if you look on OpenTx Companion here on the screen, I'll bring up an example. You can go into flight modes here and set a switch to activate flight mode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 right here in the switch section. So you can control flight modes in OpenTx with that as well. Oh, Dragon Hank, it definitely sounds like you got some hardware problems. The radio on startup says key stuck. Yeah, that's not great. So I thought maybe it might have been something software related that we could solve, but yeah, it sounds like you got some hardware issues you're going to have to get worked out. And that kind of thing happens from time to time, but I can say firsthand, based on the feedback that I get in the channel, that overall people are very happy with the Radiomaster. So stick with it. Don't let them get you down. Let's just get a replacement handled, and I'm sure you'll wind up being happy with the radio. All right, Dante, I hope that helps answer your question on what those 6-position switches are for. Hey, Enrique, he just joined. He says, sorry for arriving late. I have a question. My TC16S indicates always the battery's at 54%, no change when I change the volt limit. How can this be improved? Have you taken, hey Enrique, the question I would have is, have you measured the voltage with a voltmeter? That'd be the first question, is make sure your voltmeter confirms what you're saying about the voltage. And yeah, Dante, that's what I was talking about. These buttons that's a 6-position switch. Don't let the layout fool you. It's just a switch. It's switch position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is just a 6-position switch. Yeah, Enrique, man, you definitely need to go measure it with a voltmeter first and then come back and tell me if you still are having an issue, because you got to determine if you have a hardware problem or a software problem. And it sounds like without taking a measurement, you don't know the answer to that just yet. Hey, FL engineer, I was just having a conversation with a new guy, and he was using a 700 milliamp hour battery, and he said he was getting about, I think he said he was getting about 2 hours on a 700. So a 700 is 1/5 of a 1850 in parallel if you get a 3500. So I would expect a full 6 to 8 hours, depending on how you're powering or what you're powering with your radio. Freddie D, Amber definitely has some very eyebrow-raising phraseology for sure. She definitely does. I had one for a long time that said, stuff's about to get real, and I realized I kept shooting videos with the stuff's about to get real audio prompt, and I wound up turning that off. And I was using that when I was hitting the throttle. So anytime I went above 80% throttle, I had Amber say, hey, stuff's about to get real. Yeah, FL Engineer, since you mentioned that, I would say yes. Here, there's a website I found, 18650. Let's see if I can bring it up here. 18650 batteries. Here you go. This website, they deal in pretty good products. They seem to have very good rankings if you check out their reviews. And I got the Samsung 35Es, I think. So let me see if I can find those for you. Yeah, right here. So $5, and look at the ratings. You know, I use the ratings. 114 views with 5 stars. That's what I would say. Dante, the answer to your question is yep, they absolutely can. I'm going to bring up a video for you on the channel that'll show you how we did that. You can use the trim switches as normal switches. In fact, the TX16s has the ability to depress the switch inward, so you can press the switch down, and when you do that, that actually adds a third momentary switch on the radio. So let's see, here it is. Awesome document, awesome feature uncovered. And that's where we found out how you can use the down position on the TX16 trim switches as an extra momentary switch. And then I've also got a video showing how to do it, how to do right here, how to add 4 momentary switches for free. You take a look at that video and you'll be able to see how to configure your software to use those switches for momentary, straight up momentary switches. All right, Robert, I'm gonna need more information about your failsafe, buddy. I see you say it's messed up, but you got to tell me more about that. And David, yeah, I would agree. David Gastia, I would agree with you. 18650 should last a long time. I have in my Radiomaster TX16s, I've got 5,000 milliamp hours. I know they're not 18650s. I think they're probably 2400s or something like that. But by the time I'm done flying after a full day, they've only dropped to something like 7.9, 7 and even 8. So yeah, FL Engineer, I think you definitely got something going on there. You're going to have to get sorted out with your batteries. Go to this website, 18650 Battery Store. That's where I got mine, and their reviews are solid. So check there. Airhammer, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, you're right. You're right. The touchscreen, I'm kind of anxious to see that thing get activated in software. It'll be really curious to see. I think a lot of people talk crap about the touchscreen and they'll say, well, you know, that's not what it's meant to be. But I have a feeling that touchscreen is going to be like a bowl of popcorn. No one says they want it, but as soon as you put it in front of people, it's gone. So that's what I think that touchscreen is going to be. I think it's going to be like popcorn. Oh, I got you, Robert. Amber. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. Okay. I measured it 27% with a voltmeter, 54% indicated. And did you do any calibration, Enrique, in your software for your battery? So what I would suggest is go ahead and charge it up. And it sounds like you have maybe a couple of issues going on. First, you may have a calibration problem and you may have a range problem. What I would do is set your range to be something like 8.4 to 6.4, and then do charge the battery all the way up to 8.4, measure it with your multimeter, put it back in the radio, set your calibration to 8.4, and then let me know what you figure out from there. Brian, how are you guys getting battery telemetry on the screen, value gauge, etc.? So that's a good question. And I was actually prepared for that question because one thing I haven't done much of in the videos is talk about the telemetry setup screens. So if you look at Companion here, I'll show you what you do. You hit the telemetry button here on the left, and I'm assuming you want on the screen value, you don't say top bar or the middle screen. So we'll just assume that you want it on the top bar. Okay, so here I am in the top bar, and we'll come down here to setup and click the button, and then you can see I've got this. It's really kind of challenging to see, but there's this bar on this box is solid white, and you can use your scroll wheel to move. So I'll just use my scroll wheel and use the second box in right there. And then once I've got that, I'm going to hit the jog button, and then you can scroll through and choose what you want. So if you want telemetry values, those telemetry values have to be added. So here's battery check. You've got to have battery coming back on telemetry. If you want the radio battery, for example, very non-intuitive, you hit rudder value and then hit the jog dial, and then under source, you hit the jog dial again and you spin until you get down to battery. It's a very non-intuitive arrangement, I'll say that, because they open it up with rudder value, and I think most people just kind of skip by that. And then you got to go hunt for it, and it's all the way down here at the bottom. So I'll highlight that, and then I'll put a check mark in the box, and then when we hit return, you can see I've got a battery indicator right there. So you just kind of have to go in there and hunt around for it until you find what you're looking for. Can you use the knobs to control brushless motors? Enrique, you're welcome. Let me know what you find out, buddy, okay? Come back and tell me what you figured out. Can you use a knob to control brushless motors? Are you suggesting as a throttle? That's a great question. Let's try it. So under inputs, if we use the throttle line, input number 3, throttle, and we set the source to be, we're going to call it S2, and hit OK. I'm going to turn the simulator on, and I'll bring up the output screen, and we're looking at channel 3 on my radio. So yeah, right there. There's a throttle right there on the potentiometer, if that's what you were asking. So in this setup, just by changing the source in your throttle, and here's the trick, guys, that I think I'm going to do a video on this pretty soon. So you have this input tab, the mix tab, and the output tab. Okay, everything starts with inputs. So on the input tab, all I did was on I3, I used S2 for the source, but that doesn't really map to the plane or the radio until you assign it in the mixer. Once you assign it in the mixer, in my case, I put it on channel 3, that's what assigns it to output on the radio. So the answer is yes, you absolutely can use a potentiometer for your throttle stick if that's what you want to do. That's the best thing about OpenTx, is you can really, I really laugh when I look at all these Spectrum and FlySky and all these other receivers that have all these channels marked with things like aileron and aux and throttle. Who cares? In OpenTx, they really just don't care. It's whatever channel you want to be, whatever you want. Yeah, it's all the same in OpenTx. It just doesn't matter. A channel is a channel, so you can assign whatever you want to whatever you want. Airhammer asks if the Jumper T18 is intuitive. And see, I'm the wrong person to ask that question, because I kind of understand the logic of the radios, Airhammer. So to me, it's very intuitive, because everything to me starts with inputs. So if we're not talking about advanced setups and we're just talking about the radio itself, it all starts with inputs and then goes to mixes and then outputs. Most of what you're going to do is going to happen in these 3 tabs. So once you kind of embrace that and learn what the inputs, mixes, and outputs do, then to me it becomes very intuitive. So what I would suggest, Airhammer, is get yourself OpenTx Companion and play with it, because it's just software. You can't hurt anything. Just get in there and knock yourself out. Just have fun with it and play with it. Mark Butler says, do you use the radio for all your planes? Painless says he doesn't have enough confidence in the multi-module to use it in any plane bigger than a park flyer. Well, Mark, I put the TX16s in control of my Dynam Smooth, and I've flown that around, I don't know, 3 or 4 times since I got the radio, and that's one of the more expensive planes I have. I also put it in control of my Precision Aerobatics Katana, which is a, you know, the airframe alone on that is 300 bucks, 280, 300 bucks. And the electronics and hardware that go in it are also not cheap, you know. So I really, you know, from a confidence standpoint, I don't think he's wrong in being hesitant to try something first. And in all honesty, I put it in, the very first plane I put it in was my Millennium Master. And the reason I did that is because I know the Millennium Master inside and out, and I know as long as I have power, I can get it on the ground without destroying it. I've flown that plane just so much, I trust it more than anything else I have. So that's where I started, and I was tentative the first couple flights, but I gradually went on from the Millennium Master and added it to things like the Basher Brothers, and you know, if those crashed, I didn't really care. But I wound up at the end putting it on my Smooth and my Katana, and it's fine. So I don't really have any regrets doing that so far. The funny thing about RF, and if you didn't know, I am a ham radio operator, so I'm not like an expert radio guy, but I know enough to be dangerous. The weird thing about RF propagation and signal strength is that there's lots of different ways to measure it. There's lots of different things that can cause interference. And to be painfully honest about it, if you really want to evaluate RF signal strength, you need some solid equipment to do it. You need some really good equipment or some really good telemetry. Telemetry can be a very valuable tool if everything else can be held consistent. So I'll leave it at that and just say that I've got the TX16s flying my most expensive planes, and knock on wood, I'm okay. Yeah, if I were flying long range, there's not a chance in hell I would use the radio, either one of these radios. I would be using my Dragon Link V2, or you know, if I wanted intermediate stuff, I'd be using a Crossfire. But when it was time for me to learn to fly long range, when I did which is what I did out in the deserts of Arizona, I've flown planes out to 10 miles away out in the desert, and when I did that, that was all on UHF Dragon Link. So. Yeah, Airhammer, don't be afraid, man. Get OpenTx Companion. Trust me. Go get OpenTx Companion, download it, play with it, and you'll see. It will help you learn. Definitely go do it. All right. Does Jumper or Radiomaster have their own RF protocol? That's a trick question. They may have their own protocol on some. I know there are some Jumper radios that are older. I believe, or Radiomaster. There's some older Radiomaster radios or older Jumper. I'm not sure. One of the two. But in terms of the multi-protocol module, they're using the same chips and the same multi-protocol firmware made by the multi-protocol dev team on GitHub. So I'm going to say no. They're using the same module and the same software. In terms of whether or not they have their own proprietary protocol, I don't know the answer to that. I think not, but I don't know. I can tell you on the multi-protocol modules, they're using the same firmware and the same module. Oh, hey Tony. Yeah, good question. Stock TX16s. So the question's come up a couple of times, and I actually covered this a little bit earlier in the video, but I'll run through it again real fast. The speaker. I'm doing some experimentation with the speaker. I bought my initial speaker upgrade is a 40 millimeter 8 ohm 3 watt, but it's more of a subwoofer, and I don't like it at all. So I recently ordered these from Amazon, and as soon as I get them in, I'll be updating the channel with some information about how I feel about these. In my case, I didn't get the speaker on the back panel. I know some people are getting radios with the speaker on the back panel. I didn't. So for that reason, my recommendation is to definitely add a speaker. That's one of the bigger hardware faults of the TX16s. And then the other thing that we covered a little bit was the stick ends. I really like these, the M4. I really like the M4 stick ends that you can get in several different places out there, but I like those quite a bit. They were a nice upgrade. And then I also talked a little bit about the Futaba springs. Looks like I closed that window. Let's see, that might have been, yeah, right here. The Futaba heavy duty springs. I upgraded my TX16s with those, and I really like those as well. Yeah, David's right. As long as you're a thumb flyer and not a pincher. If you're a thumb flyer or a pincher rather, there are some other options out there, and I don't have any of those available right now, but they do have some other styles like these barrel connectors that are out there as well. So if you're interested, but I'm a thumber, so for me, getting that extra surface area was a nice bonus. That was a nice upgrade. All right. Well, I don't see too many other questions coming in, and I don't know. I hope you guys thought this little session was valuable. Definitely would appreciate a thumbs up if you can, and then leave me some comments. I'm kind of experimenting with the concept of doing some live streaming and doing some Q&A because, you know, when I'm sitting here doing the videos, I do what's on my mind, and that's not necessarily everything that's on your mind. So, oh, looks like we have another question. But anyway, I definitely would appreciate your feedback in the comments. Let me know what you think about this type of format. And if you guys like it, you know, I'm willing to consider continuing on doing more live streams if it's helpful. So let's see if there's any other questions before we wrap it up. Chargers only, my TX16s USB chargers only one way. Same for you guys. Brian, can you explain that question a little more? I'm not sure I understand what you're asking there. Hey, Wolverine. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you find this useful. And Robert, yep, appreciate the feedback. And David, thank you for the feedback. I definitely think this is something we can consider doing more of. I think I need to upgrade my live stream equipment though. This is just kind of an experiment, and I'm already having problems with the goofy live stream camera over here, but that's okay. I can work on that. Oh, Brian, you have to flip your USB cable? Yeah, that's not great. Have you tried multiple USB cables? Yeah, I would try a different USB cable before I jump to conclusion. I've got all kinds of micro USB cables, some charge, some pass data, some don't charge, some don't pass data. I would just make sure you try a different cable before you jump to conclusions. Enrique, can you clone another transmitter? Yes, you can. The easiest way to do that, so I assume you're talking about your models, and the easiest way to do that is to connect a radio to Companion and then pull your radio settings in, including your models, and then save it to a file, close Companion, open it up, add your new radio, open that file. If there are any differences, the software will tell you it's got to make changes to your models, and then you can push them down to your radio. That's exactly what I did on my Jumper T18. And if you look at my Jumper T18 configuration, let's see if I can bring that up here. There's all my planes. Hopefully you can see that, but there are all my planes on the Jumper T18, all available right there. TNRC pilot, more live streams, please. Okay, I hear you. And Freddie D likes live streams. All your cloning is your models. Yeah, David's right about that. You're going to have to do a calibration and hardware settings per the radio individually, but yes, you can pull all your models and your configurations in, which is about 95% of the work. After that, you want to go through and set up. No, I actually think, David, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it clones things like your global functions as well. So it's not strictly limited to models, but you do have to go in and do a calibration and set individual settings for your radio. Can you have multiple radios control the same drone at the same time? Tony, yes, you can. And you can do that by learning how to compile your own multi-protocol software and setting your own global ID. Once you've done that, you can turn on two radios with the same global ID, and they can both control the transmitter. I don't know if they can do it simultaneously, meaning both transmitters on, telling the transmitter or the receiver to do different things. So if you're talking about a trainer setup, there are better ways to do that. But I do know that by setting the same global ID in the source code of the multi-protocol firmware, you can have two transmitters control the same receiver. DragonLink is definitely UHF, Robert. I don't think it's 915. At least my V2 is not. It's UHF, so 433. Dante wants to know if a TX16s can control an RC boat. Sure, you just have to use the right receiver that's supported by the multi-protocol firmware. No problem with that. Yeah, Tony, I don't think the receiver will actually bind to two transmitters simultaneously. I think it will bind to one or the other, but I don't think it'll do it simultaneously, although I've never tried. You might try it. I don't know. All right, Wolverine, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I try and make myself knowledgeable on this software, but I've spent a lot of time with it. Okay, Freddie, the other day I was saving my models and a few were showing up with red letters. What's up with that? I don't know. I've never seen any with red letters. I've seen some that have checklists, but if I saw red letters, I'd be curious about that. I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question. What it sounds like to me is you'll probably have an entry in your radios.ini file, which is in your, I think it's in the radio folder on the SD card, and there's probably no corresponding binary file in the models folder. That's what I would guess, but I don't know. You might have to delete it and re-add it. Okay, RC William, thanks. Hey, welcome from Germany. That's awesome. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining us and thanks for the comment. I appreciate that. Okay, Jelly Capteen, hope I said that right, says, can you also draw current from the USB charge port, for example, charge your phone while flying? Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. If you want to do something like that, what I would recommend is get yourself a little USB to XT60 or XT30 adapter, and then use the XT30 plug on the back of your battery. But yeah, don't do that. You can experiment with it, but I wouldn't do that. And probably the charge circuit doesn't work that way anyway. It's unlikely that it'll flow in that direction, but yeah, I wouldn't do that. All right, let's see. Juiced H, what's this companion program used for? Sorry, I'm new. Thanks for the info. Juiced H, if you go to the channel and look for a tutorial, let's see if I can bring this up. If you search for Companion on the channel, here's a really good one, Companion for Beginners. I would definitely advise you to check that out. Check out that Companion video and learn it and live it and love it. You know, when I was in the military, when we did cadence in the different schools that I was in, we had a cadence that I like it here, I love it here, I finally found a home. That's kind of what I feel about Companion. You got to get a hold of Companion and learn to use it, because once you have that figured out, the lights really just start going on all over the place on what this software and what these radios can do. Robert, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Okay. Can you show me a 16-channel receiver for the TX16s, please? I think if you want a 16-channel receiver, can you use S-Bus, Dante? If you can use S-Bus, I think you'll be in luck. Let's see if we can bring up a FR Sky XSR. I think an SXR. Oh, here, how about that? On Banggood, they have them. There you go, right there. There's a 16-channel receiver for T16. And that works, by the way. I've done some demos with that receiver, and it works. Jelly Captain from the Netherlands. That's awesome. I love this kind of international presence that we've got. I'm glad you guys in Europe are representing well. Thanks for chiming in. That's great. Please continue doing these live screens, Enrique. I will. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, Robert's right, guys. Hit that like button. You know, for you guys that don't know, YouTube counts lots of different things for helping with placement, and when we do these work to make these videos, I don't know if you know this, but a 10-minute video is about 4 hours of editing the way I edit now, and I'm pretty quick, so it's a lot of work to put this stuff together. So when you guys do the like and the thumbs up and the comment and the share, that all that stuff really helps the video. So I do appreciate that when you guys chime in, even if it's just to say, hey, cool video, thanks for sharing. All of that stuff is fun. Props off, such a fun radio, can program this to do so much. Takes some getting used to though. Yeah, you're right, props off, man. This thing, they're amazing. They're amazing radios. The software is really what drives it. So, Josh, can the radio be charged while using it? Yes, it can. Absolutely can. You can plug it in and you can use it. So if you want to get a little 5,000 milliamp hour 3-cell battery and strap it to the back of a USB brick on the back of the radio, yeah, you could do that. I could do a mod pretty fast that would show a 10,000 milliamp hour 4-cell charging this radio. I could fly it for a month without turning it off. But yeah, you can charge it while flying it. Okay, TXK Flyer, man, you made it. I've been wondering where you've been. You've been hiding out. So. And Enrique, are you actually in Uruguay? That's great. Alberta, Canada. I knew Robert was Alberta. I knew that. And Enrique's are you in Uruguay? That's awesome. I hope so. That's cool. Oh, yeah. The RX numbers in red. Yeah, that'll do it, Freddie. You have two choices there. You can either set them all to 0 or start numbering them. I've found that numbering them is safer because when you number them, it will warn you if you have another one with that ID, and once you number it, it will only bind with that numbered receiver. If you don't number them and set them all for 0, just like on the Tyrannus, you can fire up any model and it'll bind to any receiver on any other model. So you can actually take off and fly with the wrong model selected, which can be hazardous. So yes, from and in Uruguay. That's great, Enrique. Well, I'm glad you're joining us. Thanks. It's kind of cool to have a international presence on the channel. I like the concept of global reach. Isn't the internet great that we can all communicate like this across the globe? That's awesome. All right, guys, I think that's it for today. Thanks a lot for joining the live stream, and definitely leave a comment. Leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, and help me out. You know, all that stuff encourages me to keep putting videos together. So I count on you guys to help with that. And don't forget to use my affiliate links. Even if you just want to go shop at Amazon and get something, use my affiliate link for that. Go buy whatever you want. And Amazon sends a little money my way. It helps out with buying things for the channel. And I am committed to using every dollar revenue for this channel on the channel. I don't put any of it in my pocket. It's all used on the channel. So I appreciate your support that way, guys. Oh, Danny's from Belgium. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Danny. All right, guys. I appreciate your time and questions today. Keep it up, and look for a live stream. I think we might get on a schedule for a live stream. I think this worked out pretty well. I'll try and make some investments in equipment so I can get a better side camera going here, but I appreciate your time and attention today. Thanks for joining us. Dragon Hank, you're welcome. You're welcome. I will keep it up. All right, guys, that's all I've got. Take it easy. Alan from the UK, thanks for joining, buddy. Appreciate it. You're welcome.